All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me touch on the top prop bets that we have available for this Thursday night showdown between the Seattle Seahawks and the Dallas Cowboys. Starting off with the game preview here, we can see it's about a 9-point spread in favor of the Dallas Cowboys winning. And so we did see the Seattle Seahawks in a similar situation last week against the Niners, and they got absolutely blown out. That's kind of my expectation for this game as well, just given how well the Cowboys have been playing lately and really how poorly the Seahawks have been playing lately. It is about a 47.5 for the over and under, so it should be a pretty high scoring game. Looking at the injury report, nothing too concerning on both sides of the football. Obviously, Kenneth Walker's going to be out, but that's just going to lead to Zach Charbonnet getting a lot more work, and that's really the biggest point of emphasis. You want to call it Will Dissly being questionable is something to monitor as well. You're going to see Noah Fant is maybe one of the better props that we have for his over receptions. A little bit ugly, but that's pretty much it for the Dallas Cowboys. Nothing too much of concern. So I do want to start out with calling out one specific prop, and that's going to be Tony Pollard's rushing touchdown. Okay, so on PrizePicks, it's set at 0.5. I want to call out that if we look at the DVP given up to opposing running backs over the past 4 weeks, look at which team has given up the most rushing touch. The Seahawks. They have also given up two receiving touchdowns as well. Okay, so they have given up 2 touchdowns to opposing running backs per game over the last 4 weeks. To me, that's pretty huge. And so the next step to that would be wanting to call out his touchdowns on Underdog. And guys, this is a data point that I want to add in there, like the rush plus receptions touchdown. The slight issue with that, just behind the scenes a little bit, the data pulls it in as a yes or no rather than a over and under line. And so there's a lot of finagling that goes with, but the percent likelihood for him to get that is about like minus 155 right now. So that's like a 55-ish% likelihood to hit. It's a very strong likelihood. Now he only has 4 rushing touchdowns on the season. That's a little bit of a concern, but we can see 2 rushing touchdowns over the past 2 weeks. And again, maybe he does fall into the end zone in the receiving department as well. He has been playing, a normal allotment of snaps. And so given the fact that it should be a decent matchup, I really think Tony Pollard is going to be in for a smash spot. And let's actually start out with Underdog here, looking at the 9-to-5 cheat sheet. And just starting out with Dallas specifically, we are seeing that compared to how the sportsbook viewed this game, we could be seeing Brandon Cooks and Dak Prescott, their fantasy scores being overvalued a little bit, which I do find interesting there. Like maybe the defense gets a touchdown there. I don't know. Like I get it. Like CeeDee Lamb's probably going to have a good game. His actually anytime touchdown prop was like minus like 140 for him to score touchdowns. So that's seemingly pretty good. But all in all, it just seems to be that Underdog is slightly overvaluing these players, Cooks, Dak, and then CeeDee Lamb, which is a little bit different from the last showdown slate that we had for the Dallas Cowboys, where we had Jake Ferguson drop what would have been a 6-for-6 slip, stacking that game, and mostly stacking the Dallas Cowboys. I believe it was Dak, Cooks, and Lamb for over their fantasy score with Jake Ferguson, then forget who we ran it back with. Anyways, it's kind of weird that we're seeing basically the exact opposite minus Jake Ferguson for over fantasy score. On all these all probably seem a little bit too thin. I'll show you guys the props for the Dallas Cowboys on PrizePicks now. And I should point out the reason why I'm doing Underdog first is because, one, we have a little bit of a better edge, but they have more of the props in there right now as I'm recording this video. Looking at the Dallas Cowboys side of it, really the only decent-ish prop that we have would be Michael Gallup for over 15.5 receiving yards. I don't think I want to touch that. That's not that big of a difference to me. We are seeing that we might have a little edge here in the rush attempts for Tony Pollard at 14.5. And it's interesting because he hasn't gotten there, the last couple of games. Now, that was a blowout. He didn't really need to get that additional run. And personally, I'm a little bit concerned because I kind of see this game, maybe being a blowout as well. Just watching it on film, Seahawks have not really shown me much, specifically Geno Smith. And yes, he is banged up. I get that. But again, he is banged up. And so with how good the Cowboys have looked, it's just tough for me to see them keeping it close, the Seahawks that is, especially with Dallas's defense really kind of going to hinder a lot of rushing production. That's my concern, is that Tony Pollard doesn't get the kind of late game running carries that you would want him to get. And I do find it funny that we're getting Turpin rush attempts props. It's a fun one. Rush yards props. Turpin is not playing that many snaps, but he is getting used in kind of unique ways each game. If it was honestly 5 yards total, I might look at that. But the fact that it's rush yards, I don't want to touch that. And then from there, all a little bit too thin for the Cowboys. So now let's go ahead and switch up into the Seahawks side of it, and we'll start with PrizePicks. So really the best EV bet that we're getting on this slate, guys, is actually going to be Stephon Gilmore for under tackles and assists. Just want to call that out on PrizePicks currently. And then we jump into the Seahawks. Again, not too much there. It's very thin to me. The only prop bet that I really like is actually going to be one on Underdog as well. And I don't know if I love it, Okay, so that prop is actually Noah Fant for over 1.5 receptions, and it's ugly. And so the reason being is that if Will Dissly is out again, I think we're going to see Noah Fant, and sorry, I shouldn't say out, limited still. I think we're going to see Noah Fant continue to get this increase in snaps that he's been getting lately. And so if that continues like it has, you look at since week 7, been getting about 50% of the snaps or so, then in a game where they are trailing from behind, I think it's a good opportunity for him to get to reception. Now, this is very thin. It has a 52% likelihood to hit. And another big concern is that he's only had three targets. That's his high target amount over the past month. So definitely a concern there. But that's just kind of it. Right now, we're not getting that many good Seattle Seahawks props. It's very tight slate. And let's just kind of look at the board in general because it is a tight slate. So I want to give you my thoughts real quickly on Cooks versus Ferguson. It does seem like it's going to be one or the other. And that's kind of been proven, especially lately. It's CeeDee Lamb. It had been Ferguson in terms of target share, but now it's kind of Ferguson or Cooks and then Tony Pollard. But it's really those four. But now, just given how well Cooks has been playing lately, I think it's either you're going with Cooks over receiving yards, or you would potentially go with Jake Ferguson there. If you're looking at this game log, it's been 3 straight games where he's been getting the under, but at the same time, very close, and basically all of them, that's typically one more catch for him. So if they see that's a weakness, which I'm not seeing that, but if they do, it's not a bad spot. Again, maybe with the Seahawks potentially getting blown out, you could run out this one for over. Honestly, a little bit too thin. So yeah, CeeDee Lamb for over a touchdown's not a terrible one on PrizePicks as well. Has a decent likelihood to hit, but also still a little bit too thin. This is probably the second best prop that we have on PrizePicks right now, and statistically, and I just don't love it. And so yeah, guys, to recap, really Gilmore for under tackles and assists is really the best EV bet that we currently have for PrizePicks. And then I don't really love any of the other props that we're getting here. Maybe, just maybe CeeDee Lamb for over that. These all feel a little bit too thin as well. They just have the board correct. And so again, that's probably where I'm going to be chasing basically Tony Pollard to get over this rush plus receptions prop on Underdog. And for what it's worth, if you guys are gonna go over to Underdog and potentially place that bet, and you guys haven't used it before, just make sure to use the promo code 905. That's going to give you guys a 100% match on deposit up to $100. It's also just going to kick money back my way on the channel. It's just kind of a way to support the channel while supporting your bankroll as well. If you want to, by all means, use it. If not, if you guys don't want to use Underdog, that's fine as well. But yeah, it's just a tight board, right? And that could change. Again, if it does, the day is going to be updating here throughout the day. I'm hoping that we get some good fantasy score props on PrizePicks and we can find those props. But right now, which it's just a little bit too tight. And I haven't decided if I want to take this route, but if you want to potentially do something like this where you're running Pollard for over this, rush plus receiving touchdowns, you could, and then attach either Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf, hoping for that better payout. It's an okay strategy. You also could just do the Noah Fant over receptions. Again, it's a tight slate, trying to give you guys options here, but it's kind of ugly. So yes, no bet of the day today just yet. That could change. Maybe I'll on the NBA video, I'll have some good props out there. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be coming out a couple hours after this video is posted. But thank you guys for watching it. If you guys want access to that 905 Sports Underdog and PrizePicks cheat sheet, click the link in the description below. It is available for just $10 a month. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.